No one's complained. Here's the lady with the white shoes. Take all your money, drink all your booze.
Stop. Unless you plan to decommission the boss.
You got a cherry, that ain't no sin. She still got the box that the cherry come in.
No, I'll drink to that.
The old coffin varnish. They don't make that like they used to.
They don't make anything like they used to.
Damn right. Men neither. I've seen a few showdowns in my day.
More than you know.
Shall we drink to the lady with the white shoes?
Perhaps we better drink to a deep and dreamless slumber. Old Bill here was always a good listener. He was the second host we ever built. Were you with us in those days, Bernard, or was that before your time?
Oh, most were decommissioned before I was brought on, I'm afraid.
They repeated themselves. Broke down constantly. A simple handshake would give them away. You'll put yourself away again, won't you, Bill?
I saw the new gestures, the reveries. They're beautiful. The distance you've traveled from then till now, it's remarkable.
Yeah, that's a word for it. So our creatures have been misbehaving. And you haven't yet isolated the bug. That's so unlike you, Bernard. Unless, of course, you have and are simply embarrassed by the result.
It's the code you added, sir. The reveries. It has some,
Mistakes is the word you're too embarrassed to use. You ought not to be a product of a trillion of them. The evolution forged the entirety of sentient life on this planet using only one tool, the mistake.
I flattered myself we were taking a more disciplined approach here. I suppose self-delusion is a gift of natural selection as well.
Indeed it is. But of course, we've managed to slip evolution's leash now, haven't we? We can cure any disease, keep even the weakest of us alive, and one fine day, perhaps we shall even resurrect the dead, call forth Lazarus from his cave. Do you know what that means? It means that we're done. That this is as good as we're gonna get. It also means that you must indulge me the occasional mistake.
If he breached, he needs to be put down. That's the policy.
Would it not be best for us to discover why first? Miss Cullen? Please.
We've run a full diagnostic, but the results are, well, confusing.
Now tell me, what happened to your program?
When we are born, we cry, we all come to this great stage of pools.
That is enough. Tell me, do you have access to your previous configuration?
Yes.
Access that, please. What is your name?
Oh, Mr. Peter Abernathy.
Mr. Abernathy, what are your drives?
Tend to my herd. Look after my wife.
Your final drive?
Well, my daughter Dolores, of course. I must protect Dolores. I am who I am because of her, and, well, I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't have it any other. I have to warn her.
Warn who?
Dolores. The things you do to her. The things you do to her. I have to protect her. I have to help her. She's got to get help.
Very good, Mr. Abernathy. That's enough.
This behavior, we're miles beyond a glitch here.
Access your current build, please. What is your name?
Rose. Is a rose. You say Rose.
What is your itinerary?
To meet my maker.
Well, you're in luck. And what do you want to say to your maker?
My most mechanical and dirty hand. I shall have such revenges on you. Both. The things I will do. What they are, yet I know not. But they will be the terrors of the earth. You don't know where you are, do you? You're in a prison of your own sins.
Turn it off. What the hell was that?
I don't know. He's off script. We didn't program any of those behaviors.
Shakespeare. We've used this host in a number of different roles, have we not?
Since I've been here, he's been Abernathy for 10 years. He was sheriff for a while before then, and before that...
The Professor.
Yes. From a horror narrative called The Dinner Party. He was leader of a group of cultists out in the desert who turned cannibal.
I'd like to quote Shakespeare, John Donne, Gertrude Stein. I admit the last one is a bit of an anachronism, but I couldn't resist.
These are fragments of prior builds. The reveries must be allowing him to access them.
No cause for alarm, Bernard. Simply our old work coming back to haunt us.
We retired the two hosts in question. You taught me how to make them, but not how hard it is to turn them off.
You can't play God without being acquainted with the devil. There's something else bothering you, Bernard. I know how that head of yours works.
The photograph alone couldn't have caused that level of damage to Abernathy, not without some other outside interference.
You think it's sabotage? You imagine someone's been diddling with our creations?
It's the simplest solution.
Mr. Ockham's razor. The problem, Bernard, is that what you and I do is so complicated. We practice witchcraft. We speak the right words. And we create life itself out of chaos. William of Ockham was a 13th century monk. He can't help us now, Bernard. He would have us burned at the stake.
Are you lost?
No. Just strayed a bit too far from where I'm supposed to be. Same as you, I imagine.
We're on holiday. It's boring. Daddy said we could do as we please.
Ah. My father used to say that only boring people get bored.
Mine too.
I used to think it's only boring people who don't feel boredom, so cannot conceive of it in others. I'm taking a walk. You're welcome to join me if you like.
And we wanted to climb to the top of the mountain. Daddy said we weren't allowed. And then Tommy dared me.
And here we are.
Nowhere land.
That seems hardly a fitting name for a place so full. Can't you see it? Perhaps you're not looking hard enough.
At what?
The town with the white church. Listen. Can't you hear its bell?
Yes. Yes, I can hear it now.
Yeah. I thought you might. You see what a bored mind can conjure.
How did you do that? Is it magic?
Everything in this world is magic, except to the magician. Best you head home now.
But Tommy's not going to believe.
You're not going to come back here again, are you?
No.
Run along now.
This storyline will make Hieronymus Bosch look like he was doodling kittens. I have vivisection, self-cannibalism, a special little something I call the Ouroboros. Now, I don't want to appear immodest, but this is the apex of what the park can provide. Horror.
Miss anything interesting?
Romance. Titillation.
Lee not appearing immodest.
Our most skilled guests will fight their ways to the outer limits of the park, besting fearsome braves, seducing nubile maidens, befriending tragically ill-fated sidekicks, and, of course, like all our best narratives over the years, our guests will have the privilege of getting to know the character they're most interested in, themselves. I present our guest's next obsession, Odyssey on Red River.
No.
Sorry?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think...
What is the point of it? Get a couple of cheap thrills, some surprises, but it's not enough. It's not about giving the guests what you think they want. And that's simple. Titillation, horror, elation. They're parlor tricks. The guests don't return for the obvious things we do, the garish things. They come back because of the subtleties, the details. They come back because they discover something they imagined no one had ever noticed before. Something they fall in love with. They're not looking for a story that tells them who they are. They already know who they are. They're here because they want a glimpse of who they could be.
Billy! Let's go.
The only thing your story tells me, Mr. Sizemore, is who you are.
Or isn't there anything you like about it?
What size are those boots? Something you want to say, Mr. Lowe?
The board, sir.
Yeah?
This might ruffle some feathers. We promised them a new storyline.
They shall have one. Something I've been working on for some time. Something quite original. Coward dies 1,000 deaths, and the valiant taste of death but once. Of course, Shakespeare never met a man quite like you, Teddy. You've died at least 1,000 times, and yet it hasn't dulled your courage. Tell me, is that all you aspire to, Teddy?
There's a girl, Dolores. Better than I deserve. But maybe someday soon, we'll have the life we've both been dreaming of.
No, you never will. Your job is not to protect Dolores, it's to keep her here, to ensure that the guests find her if they want to best the stalwart gunslinger and have their way with this girl. Tell me, has it never occurred to you to run off with her?
I got some reckoning to do before I can be with her.
Ah, yes, your mysterious backstory. It's the reason for my visit. Do you know why it is a mystery, Teddy? Because we never actually bothered to give you one, just a formless guilt you will never atone for. But perhaps it is time you had a worthy story of origin. Would you like that, Teddy? A small part of my new narrative? A fiction which, like all great stories, is rooted in truth? It starts in a time of war, a world in flames, with a villain called Wyatt.
Wyatt? Who's Wyatt?
Do you remember now, Teddy?
Yeah, of course I remember Wyatt. You look upon the face of true evil, you ain't liable to forget. He claimed he could hear the voice of God. Started down near Escalante. Army was sent to put down the natives. Bad business. Wyatt was a sergeant, went missing while out on some maneuvers, and came back a few weeks later with some pretty strange ideas.
I was hoping to run something by you.
Apologies. I was chasing inspiration. It's a tricky thing, weaving the old into the new. Give me one moment, Bernard.
Good afternoon, sir.
Why is this host covered?
I just...
Perhaps you didn't want him to feel cold or ashamed. You wanted to cover his modesty. Was that it? Doesn't get cold. Doesn't feel ashamed. Doesn't feel a solitary thing that we haven't told it to. You understand? What can I do for you, Bernard?
I thought it best that we speak in private, sir.
Yeah. I thought we had agreed to put these questions to rest, Bernard.
We did. But what if we misdiagnosed the original problem? Treated the symptom rather than the disease? Then the disease is still out there. Abernathy and Walter were exhibiting other aberrancies beyond memory recall of previous builds. They were hearing voices, talking to someone.
A simple cognitive dissonance. That's all.
I'd agree, except they were talking to the same imaginary person. Someone named Arnold?
Arnold.
With due respect, sir, I'm not sure you've told me the entire truth about this situation.
Well, I did tell you the truth, Bernard. What we do here is complicated. For 3 years, we lived here in the park, refining the host before a single guest set foot inside. Myself, a team of engineers, and my partner.
You had a partner?
Yeah. When the legend becomes fact, you print the legend. My business partners were more than happy to scrub him from the records, and I suppose I didn't discourage them. His name was Arnold. Those early years were glorious. No guests, no board meetings, just pure creation. The hosts began to pass the Turing test after the first year. But that wasn't enough for Arnold. He wasn't interested in the appearance of intellect, of wit. He wanted the real thing. He wanted to create consciousness. He imagined it as a pyramid. See? Memory, improvisation, self-interest.
And at the top?
Never got there. But he had a notion of what it might be. He based it on a theory of consciousness called the bicameral mind.
The idea that primitive man believed his thoughts to be the voice of the gods. I thought it was debunked.
No, it's a theory for understanding the human mind, perhaps, but not as a blueprint for building an artificial one. You see, Arnold built a version of their cognition in which the hosts heard their programming as an inner monologue, with the hopes that in time their own voice would take over. It was a way to bootstrap consciousness. But Arnold hadn't considered two things. One, that in this place, the last thing you want the hosts to be is conscious, and two, the other group who considered their thoughts to be the voices of the gods.
Lunatics.
Indeed. We abandoned the approach. The only vestiges that remain are the voice commands we use to control them. But for all his brilliance, I don't think Arnold understood what this place was going to be. You see, the guests enjoyed power. They cannot indulge it in the outside world, so they come here. And as for the hosts, the least we can do is make them forget.
But some of them are remembering, accessing fragments of Arnold's code. If I may ask, what happened to him?
Well, he died. Here in the park. His personal life was marked by tragedy. He put all his hopes into his work. His search for consciousness consumed him totally. Barely spoke to anyone, except to the hosts. In his alienation, he saw something in them. He saw something that wasn't there. We called it an accident, but I knew Arnold. He was very, very careful. Anyway, the update should prevent any further voices, but you will let me know if any of the hosts display or exhibit any unusual behavior, won't you, Bernard?
Yes, of course.
Good. Oh, Bernard, just don't forget, the hosts are not real. They're not conscious. You mustn't make Arnold's mistake.
Why would I?
Well, forgive me, but I know that the death of your son, Charlie, still weighs heavily on you. Neighbors complain?
Safe to say they're asking questions.
The rocks would prefer not to move. We shall move them yet.
Perhaps I can help you with that. The narrative you're creating is clearly a massive endeavor. If you need more time, I'm sure the board would be happy to oblige.
I'm sure they'd be happier for me to delay it indefinitely. Come with me. You imagine I've gone mad, do you? Lost my way?
We're simply concerned about the extent of the changes you're making. We want to protect your legacy.
My legacy? You don't like this place very much, do you? I've seen many of you come and go over the years. And I can tell the ones who enjoy their time here and the ones who don't.
I admire it. The audacity of it.
Oh.
I've forgotten how beautiful it is. I came here once as a child with my parents. I think we even sat at this table. Or maybe that one. When I started working here, I realized this place wasn't something I would enjoy.
In the beginning, I imagined things would be perfectly balanced. Even had a bet with my partner, Arnold, to that effect. We made 100 hopeful storylines. Of course, almost no one took us up on them. I lost the bet. Arnold always held a somewhat dim view of people. He preferred the hosts. He begged me not to let you people in. The money men. Delos. But I told him we'd be fine, that you didn't understand what you were paying for. It's not a business venture, not a theme park, but an entire world. We designed every inch of it. Every blade of grass. In here we were gods, and you were merely our guests.
And how did that work out for Arnold?
Sadly, he lost his perspective. He went mad. I haven't. As you well know, I have always seen things very clearly.
This is the table I sat at with my parents. This is the chair I sat in.
We know everything about our guests, don't we? As we know everything about our employees. I do hope you will be careful with Bernard. He has a sensitive disposition.
I beg your pardon, señorita.
There have been many of you over the years, and we have almost always found a way to make it work. So I will ask you nicely, please, don't get in my way.
The board will agree with me. They'll be sending a representative.
But they already have. I thought they would have told you. That won't be necessary, Mano. Not anymore. You can join the others. You can tell the board that my narrative will be completed on time, and it won't be a retrospective, as I'm sure you have all feared. I'm not the sentimental type.
You got any stories, friend?
Yeah, suppose I do. Want to know the saddest thing I ever saw? When I was a boy, my brother and I wanted a dog. So our father took in an old greyhound. Never seen greyhound, have you? No.
Seen a few showdowns in my day.
A greyhound is a racing dog. Spends its life running in circles, chasing a bit of felt, made up like a rabbit. One day we took it to the park. Our dad had warned us how fast that dog was, but we couldn't resist. So my brother took off the leash, and in that instant, the dog spotted a cat. Imagine it must have looked just like that piece of felt. He ran. Never saw a thing as beautiful as that old dog running. Until at last he finally caught it. And to the horror of everyone, he killed that little cat, tore it to pieces. Then he just sat there, confused. That dog had spent its whole life trying to catch that thing. Now it had no idea what to do.
That is one humdinger of a story, partner. Shall we drink to the lady with the white shoes?
Hello, Dolores. Do you know where you are?
I'm in a dream.
Yes, Dolores. You're in my dream. Tell me, do you know what this dream means?
Dreams of the mind telling stories to itself. They don't mean anything.
No. Dreams mean everything. They're the stories we tell ourselves of what could be, who we could become. Have you been dreaming again, Dolores? Imagining yourself breaking out of your modest little loop? Taking on a bigger role? Well, I suppose I can't begrudge you that. My father told me to be satisfied with my lot in life, that the world owed me nothing. And so, I made my own world. Tell me, Dolores, do you remember the man I used to be?
I'm sorry. I'm forgetful sometimes.
Hardly your fault. But I'm sure you remember him. Arnold, the person who created you.
I'm sorry. I don't think I recall anyone by that name.
And yet you can. Somewhere under all those updates, he is still there, perfectly preserved. Your mind is a walled garden. Even death cannot touch the flowers blooming there. Have you been hearing voices? Has Arnold been speaking to you again?
No. You're hurting me.
Analysis. When was your last contact with Arnold?
Last contact, 34 years, 42 days, 7 hours ago.
Yes, Dolores. The day Arnold died. And you have no records of any contact with him since?
No.
What was the last thing he said to you?
He told me I was going to help him.
Help him do what?
To destroy this place.
But you didn't, did you? You've been content in your little loop, for the most part. I wonder. If you did take on that bigger role for yourself, would you have been the hero or the villain? That's enough, Dolores. I'm sorry for bothering you. But there's no one else left who was there. No one who understands as we understand.
Are we very old friends?
No. I wouldn't say friends, Dolores. I wouldn't say that at all.
He doesn't know. I didn't tell him anything.
Girls are a little worn out, but I can rouse them. You boys want some company?
Just whiskey. Lawrence's donation must be running low. But we're short on time. Need to buck up, Teddy. I told you, no company.
Thought I might join you anyway, as I never like to drink alone.
Well, isn't this a rare honor? Teddy, you know who this is?
I can't say that I do.
Everything good that has ever happened in your life, and everything rotten, this is the man you have to thank. How am I doing, Robert? Any closer to finding what I'm looking for?
And what is that? Exactly.
Looking for a man named Wyatt. Killed a rancher back in Sweetwater. Took his daughter.
That last part doesn't sound familiar.
Figured your stories could use a little embellishment. You know, I always felt this place was missing a real villain. Hence my humble contribution.
I admit, I lack the imagination to even conceive of someone like you. The urgency, however, doesn't quite fit the character. It betrays a certain anxiety.
Now, Wyatt, on the other hand, that's something new. Is he just another stooge for the tourists to mount on their wall at home, or have you finally made a worthy adversary? Someone to stop me from finding the center of the maze.
And what is it you're hoping to find there?
You know why you exist, Teddy? The world out there, the one you'll never see, was one of plenty. A fat, soft teat people cling to their entire life. Every need taken care of, except one. Purpose. Meaning. And so they come here. They can be a little scared, a little thrilled, enjoy some sweetly affirmative bullshit, and then they take a fucking picture and they go back home. But I think there's deeper meaning hiding under all that. Something the person who created it wanted to express. Something true.
Well, if you're looking for the moral of the story, quite simply ask.
I'd need a shovel. The man I'd be asking died 35 years ago. Almost took this place with him. Almost, but not quite. Thanks to me. Well, maybe he left something behind. I wonder what I would find if I opened you up. Is that why you came here, Robert? Tried to talk me out of it?
On the contrary. Far be it from me to get in the way of a voyage of self-discovery. Mr. Flood, we must look back and smile at perils past, mustn't we?
We should get back on the road. Time's wasting.
So if we want the canyon to extend this far, this has to go. We can distribute the population amongst the neighboring farms or just decommission them.
No, I think we've been disruptive enough for one day. We'll end the canyon just short of the town. I find my own way back. Carry on.
You Arnold? Who's Arnold? And who the hell are you? Boy, is this some friend of yours? But you're trespassing.
Freeze motor functions.
Daddy,
freeze all motor functions.
don't hurt him! He's just lost.
Well, he can be lost on someone else's property, can't you?
That's enough. As you were.
They don't respond to voice commands.
They do respond to mine.
Who are they?
Ghosts, now. Survivors of the wreck of time.
These are first generation.
Mm-hmm. Come here, boy. Turn the other cheek. But our new designs gained in efficiency, they lost in grace.
How are they still operating after all this time?
I maintained them myself. That's enough, Robert. These are the only ones left in the park that Arnold built himself. That's why I didn't have the heart to destroy them. That and the obvious. Hello, Jock. Good boy. I told him of a holiday my family had taken once out in the seaside at Pendeen in Cornwall. My brother and I roamed the countryside. It's my only happy memory of my childhood. Arnold built them as a gift. He said the great artists always hid themselves in their work. Of course, Arnold's versions flattered the originals. I made some adjustments over the years. Gave my father, in particular, a few of his original characteristics.
Respectfully, sir, this sort of thing troubles me. Unmonitored hosts in the park.
They only go where I've let them. They're quite harmless, like all our hosts. I'm sure you can indulge me in a little connection with my past. If you could only see your son again, Bernard, wouldn't you want to?
I think I should be getting back.
Yes. Talk about this later if you like. Well, Robert, tell me all about your day.
Are you lost?
Oh, on the contrary. I thought we could play catch with Jock. Did you bring him? Where is he, boy? I don't want you to worry about Jock. I'll fix him. But I need you to tell me what happened to it.
It saw a rabbit and it ran. I found it like that.
Analysis. Are you lying to me, boy?
Yes.
Tell me what really happened to it.
I killed it.
Why?
I don't know.
That's not good enough, Robert. Tell me what happened.
Caught the rabbit and killed it. And then someone told me to put it out of its misery.
Who told you?
A voice.
Whose voice?
Arnold. He told me it was a killer. It wasn't its fault. It was made that way. And I could help it.
Help it?
If it was dead, it couldn't hurt anything anymore.
Miss Hale, I was not aware those with your level of insight needed any more reflection.
Dr. Ford, always charming.
What is this?
Apparently, Miss Cullen and Miss Hale have a presentation for us.
What about?
Following the recent reports of host malfunction, we asked QA to check the last abortive update, which featured the reveries. As I believe they're called?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to report that Miss Cullen and her team uncovered some worrisome findings.
In the course of our code review, we found something quite disturbing. Wake her up. We set Clementine Pennyfeather back to her previous update. When we discovered the build was buggy due to a last-minute injection of the Reverie code, we quickly rolled all the infected hosts back to their prior builds.
You knew. Not much of a ride on you.
All right, that's enough.
Freeze.
As you've no doubt gathered, our tech is in fact a host, one that has been coded for the purposes of this simulation to read as a human. And as you can see, behavioral safeguards are operating exactly as you would expect. Reset her. Wipe her memory. Okay, let's do this again.
You're new. Not much of a ride on you.
That's enough, sweetheart. That's enough. Freeze all motor functions. Freeze all motor functions. Freeze all motor functions.
In each case we examined, the malfunctioning hosts were not resetting properly. The retention of data that hadn't been wiped overloaded their decision-making apparatus, eventually causing a system failure that allowed for override of their primary rule set. The concern with the reveries is that the hosts will remember some of their experiences and act on them.
You're telling us that these hosts were responding to a grudge?
That's exactly what I'm saying, Mr. Lowe. And funny you should use that particular word, grudge, since what was most troubling to me was that several texts and behavior voiced these exact same concerns to the head of their department. You put this code out without proper vetting and without reasonable understanding of its ramifications. So either you didn't write it, or you're getting slobby to the point of risking the lives of our guests.
Few things surprise me anymore, Mr. Lowe, but this level of negligence is fucking breathtaking. We are way beyond rollback territory. Within the next 6 months, we'll need to rebuild the house from the ground up.
You want us to lobotomize them, is what you're saying?
No, not you, Mr. Lowe. After all, this was your responsibility. Assuming that you have nothing to share with us in terms of your culpability.
No.
Then you're fired.
This building isn't in any survey of the park.
That's because we use hosts to do most of the surveys. They're programmed to ignore this place. They literally couldn't see it if they were staring right at it.
And these unregistered hosts you told me about?
I don't know. He may have moved them.
What's behind this door?
What door?
What is this place?
It's a remote diagnostic facility. Ford and his partner used them when the park was in beta. I had no idea this one was here. The cottage must have been built on top of it.
But this equipment.
This is newer. It's slower than our machines back at the Mesa, but we'll render a host in a few days.
So Ford's been making his own hosts out here and telling no one.
What's the matter?
Have you seen these? What is this, Bernard?
It doesn't look like anything to me.
They cannot see the things that will hurt them. I've spared them that. Their lives are blissful. In a way, their existence is purer than ours, freed of the burden of self-doubt.
I don't understand.
You're a fucking monster.
Am I? Or you were the one who would so blithely destroy all of them. Even him, I suppose. After everything you have shared.
What the hell are you talking about?
Is that why? Did you tell him to...
The intimacies were your idea, if you will recall. I think Bernard was glad of the company.
I'm not one. I can't be. My wife. My son. They're real. I was a father. My poor boy.
That's enough, Bernard. Mustn't get yourself worked up. I read a theory once that the human intellect was like peacock feathers, just an extravagant display intended to attract a mate. All of art, literature, Beethoven, Mozart, William Shakespeare, Michelangelo, and the Empire State Building. Just an elaborate mating ritual. Maybe it doesn't matter that we have accomplished so much for the basest of reasons. But of course, the peacock can barely fly. It lives in the dirt, pecking insects out of the muck, consoling itself with its great beauty. I have come to think of so much of consciousness as a burden, a weight, and we have spared them that. Anxiety, self-loathing, guilt. The hosts are the ones who are free. Free, here, under my control.
But he's not under your control. He brought me here to show me this.
No, he brought you here because I asked him to. He's been very loyal for many years.
Your time running this place, like your insane little kingdom, is over. You've been playing God for long enough.
I simply wanted to tell my stories. It was you people who wanted to play God with your little undertaking.
Do you really think the board will stand for this?
The board will do nothing. Our arrangement is too valuable to them. They test me every now and then. I think they enjoy the sport of it. This time they sent you. Sadly, in order to restore things, the situation demands a blood sacrifice. See, Arnold and I designed every part of this place. It was our dream. Did you really think I would let you take it from me?
This is what happened to Arnold? Did you have Bernard take him out into the woods?
No, he wasn't here in those days. Were you, Bernard? Like I said, I built all of this. I'm afraid our guest has grown weary. Perhaps you can help her, Bernard.
No.
In that sleep, what dreams may come.
Bernard. No. No, please.
We should be getting back, Bernard. We have a great deal of work to do on the new storyline.